Hey everyone, hope you're doing great. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll dive into what if Naruto trained in isolation and returned unrecognizable. Smash that subscribe button, and be sure to peek at the description below. Let's begin. The wind that swept across the ruins of Uzushigakure did not howl, it mourned. It carried the heavy, briny scent of the sea, mixed with the ancient, metallic tang of dried blood that even decades of rain could not fully wash away. To the untrained eye, the island was a skeleton of white stone and overgrown moss, a monument to a civilization erased from the map. To the trained eye, it was a graveyard of masters. Jiraiya of the Sannin stood atop a crumbling archway, his white mane thrashing in the gale. He squinted against the salt spray, his gaze tracing the jagged coastline where the turbulent sea met the jagged rocks. Hey, pervy sage. Are you gonna pose all day, or are we gonna find this super secret scroll you wouldn't shut up about? Jiraiya's eye twitched. He looked down. Naruto Uzumaki stood in the center of a dilapidated courtyard, his bright orange jumpsuit a violent contrast to the muted grays and greens of the dead city. He was kicking at a piece of rubble with his sandal, his hands clasped behind his head. He looked bored. He looked young. Have some respect, you brat, Jiraiya called down, leaping from the archway to land with a heavy thud of his Geta sandals. This is the land of your ancestors. You should be feeling a sense of solemnity, a connection to your roots. Naruto stopped kicking the rock. He looked around, his blue eyes scanning the devastation. Buildings sliced in half by wind shear, craters left by massive explosions, and the ubiquitous spiral crest faded on every wall. It just looks like a pile of rocks, Naruto muttered, though his voice lacked its usual boisterous energy. He rubbed the back of his neck. Besides, I get a headache when I stay here too long. It's like a buzzing sound. Jiraiya's expression sharpened. Buzzing? Yeah. Like when you stand too close to a generator. Or when Granny Tsunade is really mad and trying not to hit you. Jiraiya hummed, rubbing his chin. Chakra resonance, he thought. Even destroyed, the ambient Fuinjutsu of the Uzumaki clan is reacting to his blood. The boy is a walking key, and he doesn't even know it. It had been 6 months since they left Konoha. The training had been grueling. They had focused on the fundamentals, chakra control, dispelling genjutsu, and trying to control the Kyuubi's chakra. But Jiraiya knew that raw power wouldn't be enough to save Naruto from the Akatsuki. They needed finesse. They needed the Uzumaki sealing arts. The buzzing means we're close, Jiraiya said, adjusting the massive scroll on his back. The library we're looking for was rumored to be shielded by a barrier that shifts its location based on the tides. If my calculations are right, and they always are, the entrance should reveal itself at low tide. That's in 10 minutes. Naruto pumped a fist. Alright. Finally. I'm gonna learn a super cool sealing jutsu and show it to Kakashi-sensei. He'll be so jealous. Jiraiya smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. He looked at the boy, the son of his greatest student. Naruto was growing. He was taller, his shoulders broadening. But he was still so painfully naive. He thought the world could be fixed if he just shouted loud enough. Jiraiya hoped he was right, but feared he was wrong. Stay close, Naruto, Jiraiya warned, his tone shifting to serious. Uzushigakure wasn't destroyed because they were weak. They were destroyed because they were terrifying. The traps here were designed to kill armies. Don't touch anything unless I say so. Naruto rolled his eyes but dropped his hands to his sides, checking his kunai pouch. Yeah? I got it. Part 2, The Resonance. They descended into the belly of the island through a fissure that had opened up near the northern cliffs as the tide receded. The air inside was stagnant and cold, smelling of ozone and wet stone. Jiraiya summoned a small flame in his palm, casting dancing shadows against the walls. The deeper they went, the more the architecture changed. The rough, battle-scarred stone of the surface gave way to smooth, seamless corridors made of a dark, obsidian-like material. Whoa, Naruto whispered. The echo carried far too long down the hallway. This place is huge. The Uzumaki were master architects, as well as seal masters, Jiraiya explained quietly. They built their most precious vaults deep underground to survive the tsunamis and invaders. Naruto stopped walking. He turned to the left wall. Pervy sage. The buzzing. It's really loud here. Jiraiya moved to where Naruto pointed. The wall looked solid, blank. But as Jiraiya channeled chakra into his eyes, he saw it. A hairline fracture in reality. A seal so complex it made the fourth Hokage's work look like scribbles. Good catch, Jiraiya muttered. He bit his thumb and slammed his hand against the wall. Kai! Nothing happened. The wall didn't budge. Let me try, Naruto said, stepping forward before Jiraiya could stop him. Naruto, wait. Naruto placed his hand on the black stone. He didn't use a jutsu. He didn't mold chakra consciously. He just touched it. A pulse of blue light rippled out from his palm. The obsidian wall groaned, a sound like a dying wail, and the geometric patterns etched into the stone began to glow a violent, thrumming crimson. The spiral crest of the Uzumaki flared to life. Blood recognition, Jiraiya realized with a start. It wasn't a lock, it was a scanner. The wall dissolved into mist, revealing a vast, circular chamber beyond. The room was a masterpiece of paranoia. The floor was etched with a ceiling array so dense it looked like solid black ink. In the center, suspended in a column of anti-gravity light, floated a single object, a large, multifaceted prism, pulsating with a rhythmic heartbeat. Is that it? Naruto asked, stepping into the room. That doesn't look like a library. It's an archive, Jiraiya said, his eyes wide. He stepped in carefully, testing the floor for pressure plates. A memory crystal. The Uzumaki used them to store information that couldn't be written on paper. Scrolls rot. Stone erodes. Crystals are eternal. Jiraiya approached the center, his heart pounding. If this contained the secrets of the adamantine sealing chains or the Reaper Death Seal variants, it could change the balance of power in the ninja world. It could save Naruto. Naruto, stay by the door, Jiraiya commanded. Ah, come on! I found it! Naruto! Jiraiya barked, his voice echoing with the authority of a Sannin. This is high-level Fuinjutsu. If the containment field is unstable, it could wipe this entire island off the map. Stay put, Naruto pouted, crossing his arms and leaning against the doorframe. Fine. But if you find any cool swords, I get first pick. Jiraiya approached the prism. He pulled out a brush and a blank scroll, preparing to analyze the containment field. He extended his senses. The chakra inside the crystal wasn't just data. It was alive. Wait, Jiraiya thought, his hand freezing inches from the barrier. This isn't a library. He looked at the floor again. The script wasn't for storage. It was for suppression. Dimensional suppression. Naruto, get back! Jiraiya shouted, spinning around. It was too late. Part 3: The Trap. The moment Jiraiya's voice broke the silence, the trap sprung. It wasn't triggered by Jiraiya's proximity. It was triggered by the nine tails. Deep inside Naruto's seal, the Kyuubi woke up. It roared, sensing something ancient and predatory. That spike of Bijou chakra was the key the trap had been waiting 40 years for. The floor beneath Naruto lit up with blinding white light. Whoa! Naruto yelped, jumping back, but the doorframe had vanished. A barrier of solid light had slammed shut, sealing the room. Naruto! Jiraiya lunged, covering the distance in a blur of speed, but the gravity in the room shifted instantly. It wasn't just heavy, it was crushing. Jiraiya hit the floor, his bones groaning under the sudden increase in G-force. It felt like a mountain had been dropped on his shoulders. He gasped, spitting blood, forcing his head up. Naruto was in the center of the effect. The boy was on his knees, screaming silently, his mouth open but no sound coming out. The red chakra of the Kyuubi was leaking out of him, not in a cloak, but being pulled out, like smoke into a vacuum. The prism in the center of the room shattered. From the shards, a rift in space tore open. It wasn't a portal. It was a wound in the fabric of the world. It was jagged, blacker than black, and it screamed with the sound of 1,000 breaking windows. A dimensional banishment seal, Jiraiya realized, horror flooding his veins. The Uzumaki didn't build this to hide knowledge. They built this to dispose of tailed beasts if their Jinchuriki lost control. It throws the target into the void between dimensions. The suction was immense. Debris from the floor, dust, and light itself were being dragged into the rift. Naruto was sliding across the floor, his fingernails scraping against the stone, leaving bloody trails. Pervy sage! Naruto's voice finally punched through the vacuum, thin and terrified. Help! Jiraiya roared, summoning every ounce of his sage chakra. He forced himself to his feet, fighting the gravity that wanted to flatten him. He couldn't use hand signs, the pressure was too great. He had to use pure physical strength and chakra control. He threw his hair forward. Needle Jizo! The hardened hair anchor shot into the floor, holding him steady. He extended his hair toward Naruto, wrapping the white mane around the boy's waist just as Naruto slid past him toward the rift. I got you! Jiraiya gritted out, his teeth cracking from the strain. The rift pulsed. Sensing resistance, it widened. The pull doubled. Jiraiya's hair snapped taut. He felt the roots tearing from his scalp. He was sliding. The stone floor was cracking under his sandals. Naruto was dangling midair, feet kicking towards the infinite darkness of the rift. He looked at Jiraiya. He saw the blood running down his master's face. He saw the desperation. Hold on, Naruto! Don't you dare let go! Jiraiya screamed. I am not losing you too, it's too strong! Naruto cried, tears streaming horizontally from his eyes due to the suction. The red chakra was flowing faster now, the Kyuubi's power acting as a tether that the rift was reeling in. Jiraiya took a step forward, intentionally entering the kill zone to get a better grip. The gravity crushed his ribs. He heard them snap. He coughed a spray of blood onto his sleeve. He was a Sannin. He was the Toad Sage. He would not let Minato's legacy die in a hole in the ground. He grabbed Naruto's hand with his own, flesh against flesh. Rasengan! Jiraiya formed the sphere in his other hand, intending to slam it into the floor to create a crater, a handhold, anything to stop the slide. But the rift reacted to the high-density chakra of the Rasengan. It destabilized. The room began to collapse. The ceiling gave way. Massive blocks of stone plummeted down. One was falling directly toward Jiraiya's head. Part 4. The Sacrifice. Time seemed to slow down. Naruto saw the stone. He saw Jiraiya focused entirely on pulling him, unaware of the death descending from above. If Jiraiya dodged, he would have to let go of Naruto. If he didn't dodge, he would be crushed. Jiraiya didn't look up. He just pulled, his eyes locked on Naruto's. He had made his choice. Naruto looked at the rift, then at his master. The man who bought him ice cream. The man who taught him that home is where someone thinks of you. No, Naruto thought. Not you. Naruto's eyes changed. The panic vanished, replaced by a sudden, jarring clarity. The red slit pupils of the fox faded, leaving only cerulean blue. Naruto? Jiraiya saw the shift. He saw the sad smile. Tell Granny Tsunade. Naruto shouted over the roaring wind, to bet against me coming back. She always loses, right? What are you, Naruto? Naruto didn't pull away. He didn't let go. Instead, he summoned 2 shadow clones. The clones didn't appear beside him. They materialized behind Jiraiya, using the solid ground of the entrance as a foothold. The clones didn't grab Jiraiya. They kicked him. With a coordinated double dropkick to the chest, the clones launched Jiraiya backward, out of the gravity well, out of the path of the falling stone, and through the crumbling doorway. The force of the kick, combined with Newton's third law, sent Naruto rocketing in the opposite direction, straight into the rift. Naruto! Jiraiya screamed as he tumbled backward into the corridor. He scrambled up, ignoring his broken ribs, ignoring the concussion. He lunged back toward the door. He was too late. The falling stones slammed into the threshold, sealing the room. A split second later, a soundless implosion shook the entire island. The shockwave knocked Jiraiya off his feet and threw him 20 meters down the hall. Then, there was silence. Part 5, The Aftermath. Jiraiya woke up in darkness. His body was a map of agony. His ribs grated with every breath. His chakra reserves were dangerously low. He pushed himself up, coughing dust. He summoned a small flame again. The corridor ended in a wall of rubble. The room was gone. The entire section of the underground complex had collapsed. Naruto? His voice was a croak. He crawled to the pile of rocks. He began to dig. He moved stones that weighed tons, fueled by adrenaline and denial. He dug until his fingernails tore off. He dug until his hands were raw meat. Naruto! Answer me! This isn't funny! He dug for an hour. Then 2. Then, he didn't know how long, he broke through to a pocket of empty space. The ritual chamber. It was empty. The floor was pristine. The debris was gone. The strange gravity was gone. The rift was gone. It was just a cold, empty stone room. There was no body. No scraps of orange cloth. No forehead protector, just the lingering smell of ozone and the faint, fading trace of Kyuubi chakra. Jiraiya fell to his knees in the center of the room. He slammed his fist into the ground. Damn it! The scream tore from his throat, raw and animalistic. He pounded the floor until the stone cracked and his blood filled the crevices. Minato. Kushina. He sobbed, his forehead resting on the cold stone. I promised I would protect him. He sat there in the dark for a long time. He tried to summon the toads to reverse summon Naruto. Gamabunta appeared, looked around, sniffed the air, and shook his enormous head. He is not on this plane, Jiraiya, the great toad boss rumbled, his voice unusually soft. I cannot sense his contract. It is severed. Severed? Jiraiya whispered. Is he dead? I do not know, Gamabunta said, fading away in a puff of smoke. But he is gone. Jiraiya was alone. Part 6. The Long Walk Home. The journey back to Konoha took 3 weeks. It should have taken 1. Jiraiya moved like a ghost. He didn't visit brothels. He didn't write in his notebook. He didn't eat unless his body threatened to shut down. He walked through the rain, letting it soak him to the bone. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Naruto's smile. He heard that final, stupid joke. She always loses, right? He touched the pocket of his vest. He had found one thing in the rubble. A single kunai that Naruto had dropped before the gravity took him. It was chipped and cheap. Jiraiya stopped at a roadside shrine. He looked at the statue of Jizo, the protector of travelers and children. He wanted to pray, but he felt too hollow. He had failed the third Hokage by running away. He had failed Minato by not being there when the fox attacked. He had failed Orochimaru by not saving him from his darkness. And now, he had failed the boy of prophecy. I am no sage, Jiraiya whispered to the rain. I'm just a fool with a pen. Part 7. The Report. The rain was falling in Konoha when he arrived. It was fitting. The guards at the gate, Izumo and Kotetsu, smiled when they saw him approach. Jiraiya-sama. Kotetsu called out. You're back early. Where's the knucklehead? Did you leave him running laps around the country? Jiraiya didn't stop walking. He didn't look at them. The brim of a bamboo hat shadowed his eyes. Don't, was all he said. His voice was so cold, so dead, that the 2 Chunin froze. They watched him pass, a chill running down their spines. They looked behind him, waiting for the orange blur. The road behind him was empty. Jiraiya walked through the village. People waved. Some shouted greetings. He ignored them all. He walked straight to the Hokage Tower. He climbed the stairs. He didn't knock. He pushed the doors open. Tsunade was sitting at her desk, a stack of paperwork threatening to topple over. Shizen was holding Tonton the pig. Jiraiya? Tsunade looked up, a smile beginning to form on her lips. You old pervert, I didn't expect you for another 6 mon. She stopped. She saw his clothes, torn, stained with dried blood and mud. She saw his hands, bandaged clumsily. But mostly, she saw his face. The lines around his eyes were deeper. The sparkle was gone. He looked 10 years older than he had when he left. Tsunade stood up slowly. Jiraiya. What happened? Jiraiya walked to the desk. He reached into his vest. Shizen gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. Jiraiya placed the chipped kunai on the desk. Beside it, he placed Naruto's frog wallet, Gamakan, which he had been holding for safekeeping. It was plump with money Naruto had been saving for ramen. Jiraiya, Tsunade's voice trembled. Where is he? Jiraiya opened his mouth, but his voice failed him. He swallowed hard, forcing the words past the lump in his throat. Yuzushiogakyur, he rasped. There was a trap. A dimensional displacement seal. Fix it, Tsunade demanded, her voice rising. You're the seal master. Go back and fix it. I can't. Why not? She slammed her hands on the desk, cracking the wood. Use the toads. Use the flying Raijin formulas. Do something. I tried. Jiraiya shouted back, his composure shattering. Tears finally spilled down his cheeks. I tried everything, Tsunade. The rift didn't just move him. It swallowed him. He's gone. His chakra signature is gone. The contract with the toads is silent. Tsunade stared at him. She looked at the frog wallet. No, she whispered. He's Naruto. He doesn't just die. He's too stubborn. He saved me, Jiraiya whispered, his head bowing in shame. The idiot pushed me out of the way. He took the fall for me. Tsunade fell back into her chair. The strength left her body. She looked out the window at the Hokage monument, at the stone face of the fourth Hokage, Minato. She breathed. The silence in the room was suffocating. Outside, the rain intensified, drumming against the glass like 1,000 fingers asking to be let in. I will submit a formal report in the morning, Jiraiya said, his voice hollow. He turned to leave. He couldn't look at her. He couldn't look at the pain he had caused. Jiraiya, Tsunade said. Her voice was barely audible. He stopped at the door. Don't you dare die on me now, she said. You're all I have left. Jiraiya didn't turn around. He nodded once, opened the door, and walked out into the storm. The first thing to die was the concept of tomorrow. Naruto Uzumaki lay on the cold, jagged surface of the floating island, his chest heaving. Above him, the sky was a bruised shade of violet, swirling with clouds that moved too fast and nebulae that pulsed like infected veins. There was no sun. There was no moon. There was only the ambient, sickly luminescence of the void itself. He waited for Jiraiya to come. He waited for the pervert to drop down from the purple clouds, strike a pose, and laugh about how they had really gotten themselves into a mess this time. He waited for Kakashi to pop into existence with a detached eye smile. He waited for a retrieval team. He waited for an hour. He waited for a day. He waited until his throat was so dry it felt like he had swallowed sandpaper. Pervy Sage. The scream tore from his throat, raw and desperate. It didn't echo. The atmosphere here was thin and heavy at the same time. It swallowed sound the way dry earth swallowed rain. Anybody. He scrambled to his feet, ignoring the bruises on his ribs and the tearing of his orange jumpsuit. He ran to the edge of the floating rock. Below him was an abyss of infinite depth, filled with other drifting islands, some small as a house, others large as a city. They floated in a sea of nothingness. Hey! Can anyone hear me? He cupped his hands around his mouth. He channeled chakra into his voice. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I'm the future Hokage. Don't leave me here. Silence answered him. Not the peaceful silence of a forest, but a heavy, predatory silence. The kind of silence that watches you. He ran. He ran laps around his island, which was roughly 2 kilometers wide, a barren landscape of black obsidian and gray dust. There was no water. There were no trees. Just rocks, dust, and the alien sky. By the third day, the hunger set in. It was a gnawing, twisting pain in his gut. Kurama, Naruto croaked, sitting in the lotus position. He closed his eyes, diving into his mindscape. The sewer was gone. Or rather, it had changed. The water was stagnant. The golden bars of the cage were rusted. The great fox lay in the corner, its head resting on its paws, its eyes closed. Hey, fox! Naruto shouted, splashing through the water. Wake up! We need a plan! One giant eyelid cracked open. The crimson pupil was dull. Be silent, Kit, Kurama rumbled. His voice lacked its usual thunder. It sounded tired. You are wasting energy. We have to get out of here. Use your chakra. Break the wall. There is no wall, Kurama sneered, though he didn't lift his head. We are nowhere. We are in the dump of the dimensions. The space between the pages of reality. There is nothing to break because there is nothing here. So what? We just die, eventually. The ambient chakra here is necrotic. There is no nature energy to draw upon. I am a being of chakra, Naruto. If I cannot replenish myself, I will fade. And when I fade, you die. Naruto stared at the fox. The Kyuubi, the calamity that destroyed Konoha, looked small. Defeated. I don't care, Naruto snapped. I'm not dying here. I promised. Promises mean nothing to the void. Kurama closed his eye. Go away. Let me conserve my strength. Naruto was kicked out of his mindscape. He opened his physical eyes to the purple twilight. Fine, he rasped, his voice cracking. I'll do it myself. He stood up. He formed the cross seal. Shadow clone jutsu. He poured chakra into the technique. Usually, a cloud of smoke would burst, and 1,000 clones would appear. This time, the smoke hissed weakly. 2 clones appeared. They looked sickly, their forms wavering like heat haze. They looked at the original, then at each other, and popped out of existence instantly. Naruto fell to his knees. The technique had drained him more than 1,000 clones usually did. The physics were wrong here. Chakra didn't flow, it had to be forced. He lay on his back, staring at the swirling purple sky. I'm hungry, he whispered to no one, and for the first time in his life, he cried. He didn't cry like a brat throwing a tantrum. He cried with the terrifying realization of a child who realizes his parents aren't coming back to the isle where he got lost. He curled into a ball, clutching his stomach, and sobbed until he passed out. Part 2, The Hunter and the Prey. 1 week later, Naruto lay still behind a ridge of obsidian. He was covered in gray dust to mask his bright orange jacket. He hadn't eaten in 7 days. His body was sustaining itself on the faint trickle of Kyuubi chakra, but the hunger was maddening. He watched the creature. It was a lizard-like thing, the size of a wolf, with 6 legs and skin that looked like whetstone. It was scuttling across the rocks, sniffing the air with a forked tongue that glowed blue. Naruto had named them echoes. They were the only other living things here. He had tried to fight one on day 4 with a Rasengan. The noise and the bright light had attracted a dozen of them. He had barely escaped with his life, leaving a trail of blood that he had to cauterize with a heated kunai. He had learned his first lesson: noise is death. Flashiness is suicide. He gripped a sharp shard of obsidian in his hand. He had lost his kunai pouch during the fall. This rock was his only weapon. He regulated his breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Slow. Silent. The creature moved closer. It stopped, sensing something. Naruto didn't hesitate. He didn't yell, "Here I come." He didn't announce his attack. He launched himself over the ridge. He moved low to the ground, abandoning the upright ninja run for a primal, 4-legged scramble. He tackled the creature. It screeched, thrashing violently. Its claws raked across Naruto's chest, shredding the fabric of his jacket and tearing skin. Naruto didn't flinch. The pain was distant, the hunger was immediate. He jammed the obsidian shard into the creature's neck, just below the skull. He twisted it. Black ichor sprayed over his face. The creature spasmed and went still. Naruto collapsed on top of it, panting. He looked at the dead thing. It smelled like sulfur and rot. He didn't have a fire. He didn't have a knife to skin it properly. He tore into the flesh with his teeth. It tasted foul. It tasted like battery acid and old meat. He gagged, retched, but forced himself to swallow. He needed the protein. He needed to live. As he ate, sitting alone in the purple twilight with black blood on his chin, the image of Ichiraku ramen flashed in his mind. The warmth. The steam. Toochie's smile. The memory was so vivid it hurt more than the creature's claws. "I will go back," he whispered, his voice rougher now, deeper. "I will go back." But as he looked at his reflection in the pool of spilled black blood, the blue eyes staring back seemed a little dimmer. A little colder. Part 3, The Archive of the Lost. Time became a blur. There was no day or night, only the slow rotation of the galaxy above. Naruto measured time by the growth of his hair and the healing of his scars. Subjective time, Year 1. Naruto had explored every inch of his island. It was a prison. But then, during a storm, where the gravity shifted and debris rained from the sky, a new landmass collided with his. It was a massive chunk of white stone buildings, overgrown with petrified moss. Naruto investigated, moving like a ghost. He no longer wore the orange jacket. It had been shredded months ago. He wore a tunic fashioned from the thick, leathery hide of the echoes he had hunted, stitched together with tendons. He looked like a savage. He entered the ruins. He recognized the crest immediately. The spiral. Yuzushiyogakure, he breathed. It's part of the village. This wasn't just any ruin. This was a section of the village that had been banished during the fall of Whirlpool, decades ago. The same trap that caught him had caught his ancestors. He found the skeletons inside. Dozens of them. They were huddled together in what looked like a library, their bones brittle and yellow. They had died of starvation or old age in the dark. Naruto felt a profound sorrow, but he didn't cry. He had stopped crying months ago. Crying dehydrated you. He walked among the dead. He bowed to them. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm here now. He found a desk with a skeletal figure slumped over it, clutching a scroll. Naruto gently pried the scroll loose. It was written in a complex cipher. Kurama, he called internally. The fox was awake. He was always watching now. The shared struggle for survival had eroded the animosity. They were two prisoners in the same cell. It is a variation of the Solar Seal dialect, Kurama said, peering through Naruto's eyes. Your clan was paranoid. They coded everything. Can you read it? I have seen enough of the Mito woman's scribbles to decipher the basics. But you will have to learn the rest. If you want to escape, the answer is in these papers. Violent chakra will not tear the void, only precision will. Naruto looked at the library. There were thousands of scrolls. I was never good at studying, Naruto muttered. Then you will die here, Kurama said bluntly. There are no shortcuts, Naruto. No shadow clones to speed learn, because your chakra reserves are too precious to waste on maintenance. You must learn the old way. Read. Understand. Apply. Naruto sat down at the desk, pushing the bones of his ancestor aside gently. He opened the scroll. Okay, he said. Teach me. Part 4, The Transformation. Subjective time, Year 3. The boy who entered the void was gone. The man who existed now was a creature of habit and silence. Naruto sat in the center of the library, which he had cleaned and organized. He was taller now, his frame lean and roped with dense muscle. His hair hung long, past his shoulders, a wild mane of red gold, the red tint of the Uzumaki bloodline surfacing as his chakra adapted to the environment. He held a brush. He was writing on the stone floor, Fuinjutsu. The art of sealing. It wasn't just drawing squiggles. It was math. It was physics. It was the language of the universe. The barrier creates a vector, Naruto murmured, his voice a low rasp. If I invert the vector, the mass doesn't disappear, it compresses. He finished the seal. He placed the stone in the center. He tapped the ink. The stone didn't explode. It imploded, folding in on itself until it vanished with a soft pop. Sloppy, Kurama criticized. The radical on the northern axis was off by 2 degrees. If that was a dimensional key, you would have teleported your legs but left your torso behind. Shut up, Kurama. I'm fixing it. Naruto erased the ink and started again. He practiced for 12 hours a day. The other 4 hours were spent hunting the echoes for food and water their blood could be distilled. The remaining 8 were for sleep and meditation. He had abandoned the Rasengan. It was a ball of noise. Instead, he focused on wind release. Not the brute force great breakthrough, but fine manipulation. He picked up a rusty katana he had found in the ruins. It was brittle, but it was metal. He held the blade. He channeled wind chakra, not to coat it, but to sharpen the air around it. An invisible edge. He swung the sword. It made no sound. It sliced through a stone pillar 10 feet away. Better, he noted. His personality was shifting. The loud, desperate need for acknowledgement was being starved out of him. There was no one here to acknowledge him. There was no Sakura to impress, no Sasuke to rival. There was only the mission, escape. He began to hallucinate during the long, quiet periods. Sometimes, he saw Kakashi reading his book in the corner. Yo, the phantom Kakashi would say. You're not real, Naruto would reply without looking up from his scrolls. Does it matter? You're lonely. I'm busy. Sometimes he saw Sasuke. You're a loser, the phantom Sasuke sneered. You're still here while I'm out there getting stronger. You're loud, Naruto said, throwing a brush at the hallucination. It passed through smoke. And your technique is flawed. He learned to compartmentalize his mind. He built a mental fortress. He locked the memories of Konoha in a box so they wouldn't hurt him. He stopped thinking about ramen. He stopped thinking about the Hokage hat. He thought about angles, inconsistency, and killing strokes. Part 5, The Symbiosis. Subjective time, Year 6. A massive storm was raging in the void. Purple lightning arced between the floating islands. Naruto stood on the edge of the ruin, shirtless, his body covered in scars, some from the echoes, some from failed experiments. On his stomach, the 8-trigram seal was visible, but it had changed. He had been tinkering with it. Ready? Naruto asked. Do not mess this up, Naruto, Kurama warned. We are synchronizing our frequencies. If you hesitate, your chakra coils will burn out. I don't hesitate. Naruto closed his eyes. He didn't pull on the Kyuubi's chakra. He opened the gate. Usually, the chakra was toxic, hateful, burning. But after 6 years of constant conversation, of sharing memories, Kurama had watched Naruto's entire life. Naruto had seen the Sage of 6 Paths through Kurama's memories. The hate was gone. It was just power. The red chakra flowed out, but it didn't bubble or cloak him in a fox shape. It merged with his blue chakra. It turned a deep, dense purple. Naruto opened his eyes. His pupils were across, the vertical slit of the fox intersected by the horizontal bar of the toad sage, which he had never fully mastered. But the principle of natural energy gathering applied to void energy gathering. He held out his hand. From his back, chains erupted. They weren't just chakra constructs. They were solid, golden, adamantine chains. The bloodline limit of Kushina Uzumaki. He had found the scroll for them in year 4. It took him 2 years to manifest a single link. Now, he had 5 full chains. A void behemoth. A massive, whale-like creature that swam through the air, dove towards him, attracted by the storm. It was the size of the Hokage monument. Naruto didn't move. He raised a single finger. The golden chains shot out, moving faster than the eye could follow. They pierced the behemoth's hide, wrapping around its massive bulk. Seal, Naruto whispered. The chains glowed white. The behemoth screeched as its chakra was instantly suppressed. It froze in midair, paralyzed. Naruto clenched his fist. The chains contracted. The massive creature was sliced into distinct cubes of meat. It fell into the abyss. Naruto retracted the chains. The purple chakra faded. He took a deep breath. Adequate, Kurama grunted. Your mother used them with more elegance. You use them like bludgeons. Dead is dead, Kurama. Naruto turned back to the shelter. He walked with a limp, an old injury from a fall that never set right. We have enough food for 3 months, he calculated. And I've finished the calculations for the reverse 4-corner ceiling array. The energy requirements are astronomical. I know. That's why we need the storm. He looked up at the purple lightning. We're going to catch a bolt of void lightning and feed it into the seal. That is suicide. It's the only way home. Home. The word felt strange in his mouth. He tried to remember what Konoha smelled like. Sun-baked earth? Ramen broth? He couldn't remember. All he smelled was ozone and blood. Part 6. The Dark Night of the Soul. Subjective time, Year 8. The preparation was taking too long. Naruto was tired. He sat on the highest peak of the ruins, looking out at the endless nothing. The silence was absolute. He hadn't spoken out loud in 3 weeks. Why speak? Kurama could hear his thoughts. He felt a sudden, crushing wave of despair. It happened sometimes. The realization that even if he escaped, he wouldn't fit anymore. He was 24 years old physically. Or maybe 25. He had lost track. His peers were likely 18. He had missed everything. They've forgotten me, he thought. Probably, Kurama answered honestly. Humans are fickle. 3 years is a long time for them. I wonder if Tsunade gambled my savings. Likely. Naruto looked at his hands. They were rough, calloused, the hands of a killer. He remembered the promise he made to Sakura. I'll bring Sasuke back. He laughed. A dry, rasping sound. Bring him back to what? To this? He stood up and drew his sword, a black blade he had forged himself from the iron of the void creature's bones. He began to practice his forms. First form, the flowing water. Second form, the crashing wind. Third form, the void sting. He moved with a terrifying grace. No wasted motion. Every step was calculated to kill. He wasn't training to be Hokage anymore. He realized that somewhere around year 5, the Hokage was a politician. The Hokage protected people. Naruto was a survivor. He was a weapon forged in the dark. Kurama, he projected. What? When we get back. I don't think I can be the loud idiot anymore. Good. I hated that version of you, but that's the version they loved. Then they loved a mask. You are an Uzumaki, Naruto. You are a container of a demon. You have survived hell. If they cannot love the steel, they did not deserve the iron. Naruto sheathed the blade with a click. Yeah. Maybe. He went back to the drawing board. The massive seal covered the entire floor of the courtyard now. It was a masterpiece of fuinjutsu, complex enough to make Minato Namikaze weep with envy. It was almost time. Part 7, The Break. Subjective time, year 10. Real-world time, 3 years. The day had arrived. Or the cycle. Whatever. Naruto stood in the center of the massive array. He was unrecognizable. He wore a dark gray cloak made from the hide of a void behemoth, hooded and durable. Beneath it, he wore mesh armor and combat pants he had scavenged and resized. His hair was long, tied back in a messy tail, deep red strands mixing with the blonde. A scar ran horizontally across his throat, a souvenir from a particularly close call with a razor windstorm. He carried a staff on his back, carved from the bone of a creature, capped with iron. His sword was at his hip. Are you ready? He asked, his voice gravelly from disuse. I am ready, Kurama replied. I have gathered every scrap of chakra I possess. We have one shot at this. If the calculation is wrong, we will be atomized. If we stay, we starve. We've hunted this sector dry. Naruto slammed his staff into the center of the seal. Reverse summoning. Dimensional anchor. He flared his chakra. All of it. The seal lit up. Not with the blue of normal chakra, but with the white-hot intensity of the void energy he had learned to manipulate. The ground shook. The island began to crack. The sky above them tore open. A vortex of black and gold swirled, creating a vacuum that threatened to pull his skin off. Hold it together. Naruto gritted his teeth, blood leaking from his nose. Target the coordinates. The mark on Jiraiya's shoulder. He had memorized the chakra signature of the seal he had seen on Jiraiya's shoulder in the bathhouse years ago. It was his lighthouse. I have a lock. Kurama roared. Now! Naruto clapped his hands together. Flying Raijin, void step. The world dissolved. The sensation was agonizing. It felt like being pushed through a cheese grater. His body was stretched, compressed, and burned. He screamed, but there was no sound. He saw flashes of the outside world. He saw a forest. He saw a village. He saw faces he didn't recognize. And then, abruptly, the pressure vanished. Part 8, The Return. Thud. Naruto hit the ground hard. He rolled instinctively, coming up into a crouch, his blade drawn before he even registered his surroundings. Dirt. Real dirt. Green grass. Trees. The air was sweet. It was thick with oxygen and moisture. It smelled of pine and rain. Naruto froze. He took a deep, shuddering breath. His lungs burned with the richness of it. He lowered his sword slowly. He was on a dirt road. In the distance, massive wooden gates rose up, bearing the symbol of the leaf, Konoha. It was exactly as he remembered, and yet it looked like a toy village. Small. Fragile. He stood up to his full height. He felt heavy. The gravity here was lighter than the void, making him feel incredibly strong, but his heart felt heavy. He began to walk toward the gates. 2 figures were manning the booth. Izumo and Kotetsu. They looked exactly the same. 3 years hadn't changed them a bit. They were laughing, playing cards. Naruto stopped 10 meters away. He pulled his hood up to obscure his face. He didn't want to explain. Not yet. He walked forward. Halt. Kotetsu stood up, blinking. State your business and show identification. We aren't expecting any visitors this late. Naruto stopped. He looked at the Chunin. He remembered them giving him candy when he was a kid. He remembered pulling pranks on them. He opened his mouth to say, "It's me, Naruto," but the words didn't come. His throat tightened. The instinct of the void took over. Silence is safety. Instead, he simply reached into his cloak. "Weapon!" Izumo shouted, reaching for his kunai. Naruto moved. It wasn't a run. It was a shunshin body flicker, but powered by the muscular density of a decade in high gravity. He vanished. A gust of wind blew the cards off the table. Naruto reappeared inside the gates, past the guards. "Hey!" Kotetsu spun around, terrified. "How did he?" "Stop him!" The alarm sirens began to wail. Naruto didn't run. He walked. He walked down the main street of Konoha. It was evening. The shops were closing. People were walking home. They stopped and stared at the hooded figure. The aura radiating off him was terrifying. It wasn't malicious, but it was heavy. It felt like standing next to a predator. An ANBU squad landed in front of him. 4 masks. Porcelain. "Stop right there," the captain ordered. "Identify yourself." Naruto stopped. He looked at the ANBU. He could see the openings in their stance. He could kill all 4 of them in less than 3 seconds. He didn't want to kill them. They were Leaf. "I am home," he whispered. The voice was unrecognizable. He reached up and pulled down his hood. The streetlights illuminated his face. The sharp, angular jawline. The scars. The long, red-gold hair. And the eyes. Blue eyes, but ancient. Eyes that had seen the end of the world. "Take me to the Hokage," he said flatly. The ANBU captain hesitated, trembling slightly under the pressure. Who are you?" Naruto looked at the Hokage monument. He looked at the stone face of the 4th, and then at the spot where his own face was supposed to be carved one day. "I used to be Naruto Uzumaki," he said, and as the rain began to fall, washing away the dust of the void, Naruto realized the truth. The boy who left was dead. The stranger who returned was all that was left. 3 years. To the earth, 3 years is a blink. To a tree, it is a few inches of growth. But to a village of shinobi, 3 years is a lifetime. It is enough time for genin to become chunin, for masters to grow old, and for the missing to become dead. Konohagaku no Sato was not the same village Naruto Uzumaki had left. The sun was setting, casting long, bruised shadows across the Hokage monument. The village was quieter than before. The threat of the Akatsuki had moved from a rumor to a looming storm cloud. Patrols were doubled. The borders were locked down. The carefree atmosphere that had permeated the village after the crushing of Konoha had evaporated, replaced by a grim, militaristic efficiency. Sakura Haruno stood at the window of the Hokage's office, clutching a clipboard to her chest. She was taller now, her hair cut short and practical, her flak jacket worn with the ease of a veteran, but her eyes were tired. "The Border Patrol reports no sign of Orochimaru's movement in the land of rice fields," Sakura reported, her voice steady, "but we have unconfirmed sightings of 2 Akatsuki members near the border of the river country." Tsunade Senju sat behind the desk, a bottle of sake untouched near her elbow. She looked exhausted. The pile of paperwork was a mountain she climbed every day but never conquered. "Increase the patrols in Sector 7, Tsunade rubbed her temples. "And tell Asuma to take a team to the river border. Just recon. No engagement." "Yes, Shursho." Sakura hesitated. She didn't leave. Tsunade looked up. "What is it, Sakura?" Sakura bit her lip. "Today is the day." Tsunade flinched. She didn't need to ask which day. October 10th, Naruto's birthday. And the 3rd anniversary of the mission to the ruins of Whirlpool. The anniversary of the day Jiraiya had come back alone, broken and bleeding, carrying a frog wallet and a chipped kunai. "I know," Tsunade said softly. She looked at the picture frame on her desk. A smiling blonde boy, a brooding Uchiha, and a masked scarecrow. "Have you seen Jiraiya?" "He's at the memorial stone," Sakura said. "He's been there since dawn. He hasn't moved." Tsunade sighed, a sound that seemed to scrape the bottom of her soul. "Leave him be. We all mourn in our own way. Do you think?" Sakura started then stopped. It was a foolish question. A child's question. Do you think there's any chance? Jiraiya is the greatest seal master alive, save for perhaps the fourth, Tsunade said, her voice hard to keep it from trembling. He spent the first year trying to reopen the rift. He spent the second year researching forbidden resurrection jutsu just in case. He found nothing. The rift didn't lead to a place, Sakura. It led to nowhere. Sakura nodded, her eyes stinging. She bowed low. I'll deliver the orders to Asuma-sensei. She turned and walked out. The door clicked shut. Tsunade picked up the sake bottle. Her hand shook. She poured a cup, stared at the clear liquid, and then poured it onto the floor. Happy birthday, brat, she whispered to the empty room. Wherever you are. Part 2, The Intruder. The moon was high, obscured by drifting clouds that threatened rain. The air was cool and crisp. At the main gates of Konoha, Izumo Kamizuki and Kotetsu Higain were engaged in their eternal battle against boredom. I raise you 3 ryo, Kotetsu said, slapping a card onto the table inside the guard booth. You're bluffing, Izumo yawned, leaning back in his chair. You always twitch your nose when you have a good hand. You don't have anything. Maybe my nose itches. Maybe you're terrible at poker. A wind picked up, swirling the fallen leaves around the entrance. The massive green gate stood open, but the sensory barrier that spanned the entrance was active, humming at a frequency only sensors could feel. Izumo stiffened. He dropped his cards. Did you feel that? Kotetsu was already reaching for the hilt of his weapon, his playful demeanor vanishing instantly. Yeah. Pressure drop. Barometric? No, Izumo stood up, walking to the window. Chakra. It wasn't a spike. It wasn't the malicious, burning sensation of an enemy preparing a jutsu. It felt like a void. It felt like the air had suddenly been sucked out of the world, leaving a cold, silent vacuum. Contact! Izumo shouted, hitting the alarm button. 12 o'clock. Out of the darkness of the forest road, a figure emerged. He walked slowly, his steps rhythmic and heavy. He wore a dark, tattered cloak that seemed to absorb the moonlight rather than reflect it. A hood obscured his face. A long staff was strapped to his back, wrapped in bandages, and a black sword hung at his hip. Halt! Kotetsu barked, leaping over the counter to stand in the center of the road. State your name and business. Konoha is under high alert. The figure didn't stop. He didn't speed up. He just kept walking, the wooden staff clicking softly against the dirt. I said halt. Kotetsu drew his massive mace-like blades. The figure stopped 10 meters away. The wind caught the edge of his cloak, revealing glimpses of gray mesh armor and combat pants that had seen years of wear. Identification, Izumo demanded, flanking the intruder. Now, the figure tilted his head slightly. The movement was bird-like, twitchy yet fluid. I have no identification, the figure said. The voice sent a chill down Kotetsu's spine. It was raspy, deep, and sounded like tectonic plates grinding together. It was the voice of someone who hadn't used their vocal cords for conversation in a very long time. Then you are denied entry, Kotetsu said. Turn back or we will use force. The figure seemed to consider this. He looked up at the kanji for fire etched onto the gate. I am entering, the figure stated. It wasn't a threat. It was a fact. Take him. Kotetsu lunged, swinging his blades in a pincer movement meant to immobilize. Izumo spat a glob of syrup-trapped jutsu, at the intruder's feet to glue him in place. It was a perfect Chunin-level coordination. It hit nothing. There was a sound like a thunderclap, but muffled, the sound of air rushing to fill a vacuum. The intruder was gone. What? Kotetsu stumbled, his blades hitting empty air. Behind you! Izumo yelled. The intruder was standing 5 meters inside the gate. He hadn't run past them. He hadn't jumped over them. He had simply existed there, and then existed here. Shunshin? Izumo thought, panic rising. No Shunshin is that fast without hand signs. That was instant. The intruder didn't look back. He continued walking toward the village center. Enemy infiltration. Izumo screamed into his radio. S-rank speed. Sector 1. He bypassed the barrier. I repeat, he bypassed the barrier. The sirens of Konoha began to wail. Part 3. The Silent Walk. Naruto walked down the main street. The sensory input was overwhelming. The smell of frying oil, roasting pork, perfume, sweat, and rain. The lights were blindingly bright compared to the eternal twilight of the void. People were pouring out of their homes, confused by the sirens. They saw the cloaked figure marching down the center of the street, and instinctively backed away. Naruto didn't look at them. He kept his eyes forward, his senses expanded into a spherical grid. 2 signatures on the roof to the left. Jonin level. 3 signatures in the alley to the right. Chunin. An entire squad approaching from the front. Umbu. He felt their intent. Fear. Aggression. Protection. He remembered this street. He remembered running down it with a bucket of paint, laughing as Chunin chased him. He remembered the glare of the villagers. Those glares were different now. Back then, they looked at him with disgust. Now, they looked at him with terror. I prefer the terror, Kurama's voice echoed in his mind. It was a low rumble, comforting in its familiarity. They are loud, Naruto thought back. So much noise. A cloud of smoke burst in front of him. 4 ANBU members landed in a defensive formation. They wore the standard porcelain masks. Cat, bear, hawk, and weasel. Stand down. The Captain Hawk ordered, his katana drawn. Drop your weapons and get on your knees. Naruto stopped. He rested his hand on the hilt of his black sword. The ANBU tensed. I am not here to fight, Naruto said. His voice carried over the wailing sirens, oddly distinct. Then surrender. Hawk shouted. I am walking to the tower, Naruto said. Do not impede me. Take him. Bear and Weasel moved first. Bear launched a massive earth-style wall to block Naruto's path, while Weasel threw a spread of shuriken wired with explosive tags. Naruto didn't draw his sword. He moved his left hand. From his sleeve, 5 black seals painted on paper slips shot out. They didn't flutter, they flew like darts, propelled by wind chakra. 2 tags hit the earth wall. The wall didn't crumble. It simply turned into dust, its structural integrity cancelled instantly. The other 3 tags hit the shuriken in midair. The explosive tags on the shuriken fizzled and died, the chakra within them suppressed. The ANBU froze. He neutralized ninjutsu with paper? Naruto stepped through the falling dust of the earth wall. He was in front of Weasel in a heartbeat. Weasel tried to strike with a kunai. Naruto caught the wrist. He didn't break it. He tapped Weasel's chest with 2 fingers. A seal appeared on Weasel's flak jacket, a black swirl. Weasel collapsed, paralyzed. 1, Naruto counted softly. Bear roared, charging with a stone-encased fist. Naruto sidestepped with minimal movement, letting the fist pass millimeters from his hooded face. He slapped a tag onto Bear's back. Bear fell face first into the dirt, immobile. 2. Hawk and Cat attacked together, realizing this was a master they were facing. Hawk used wind style to enhance his blade, Cat used fire style. A combination jutsu. Naruto raised his right hand. He didn't use hand signs. He twisted his wrist, palm facing out. Fuinjutsu, vacuum shell. The air in front of him solidified into a visible, distortion barrier. The fire and wind hit the barrier and vanished, absorbed into a pocket dimension within the seal Naruto had inscribed on the air itself. The ANBU stared in horror. This wasn't combat. This was an adult disciplining children. Naruto flickered. He appeared behind them. He grabbed both by the back of their necks. He didn't squeeze. He just applied a pulse of killing intent. It wasn't the raw, hot rage of the Kyuubi. It was the cold, suffocating pressure of the void. It was the feeling of drowning in deep water. Hawk and Cat went limp, unconscious from the sheer psychological shock. Naruto gently lowered them to the ground. He didn't kill them. They were Leaf. He stepped over their bodies and continued walking. More shinobi were arriving. Kakashi Hatake? Might Guy. Asuma Sarutobi. The elites. Naruto stopped. He saw the silver hair. He saw the single Sharingan eye widening in shock. You! Kakashi landed 10 meters away, kunai ready. But his stance was hesitant. The way the intruder moved, it was efficient, unfamiliar, but the feeling. Stop, Kakashi ordered the other arriving ninja. Everyone hold back. Naruto looked at Kakashi. The man looked older. More tired. Scarecrow, Naruto said. The nickname from the bingo book, but spoken with zero humor. Who are you? Kakashi demanded. You use Uzumaki sealing techniques. Where did you learn them? Naruto reached up to his hood. Take me to the interrogation division, Naruto said. I will speak only to the commander. Kakashi narrowed his eye. You want to go to TI? You realize you might never leave. I know the protocol, Naruto said. I am an unidentified asset with S-class capabilities entering the village. Secure me. Interrogate me. Verify me. He held out his hands, wrists together. Do it. Kakashi hesitated, then signaled to two ANBU behind him. Cuff him. Chakra suppression cuffs. Level 4. The ANBU approached cautiously. They slapped the heavy metal cuffs onto Naruto's wrists. The seals on the cuffs glowed, suppressing his chakra. Naruto didn't flinch. The cuffs felt like paperweights. Compared to the crushing gravity of the void, this suppression was nothing. He could break them in a second if he wanted to. He didn't. Lead the way, Naruto said. Part 4. The Iron Room. The torture and interrogation department was deep underground. It smelled of rust, antiseptic, and fear. Naruto sat in the center of the main interrogation room. He was strapped to a heavy steel chair. His arms were bound, his legs were bound, and a seal was placed on his chest to disrupt his chakra flow. The room was dark, save for a single harsh light bulb hanging over his head. On the other side of the table sat Ibiki Marino, the head of TI. The man who could break a stone with a glare. Ibiki stared at the hooded prisoner. They hadn't removed the hood yet. They wanted Ibiki to do it. You walked into my village, Ibiki began, his voice a low growl. You incapacitated 2 gate guards and a full ANBU squad in under 3 minutes without drawing a weapon. And then you surrendered. Naruto said nothing. Why? Ibiki asked. Efficiency, Naruto replied. The hood muffled his voice slightly, but the flat tone was clear. Fighting Kakashi Hatake and Might Guy in the village center would have resulted in collateral damage. It would have been wasteful. Wasteful, Ibiki repeated. You talk like a machine. I am a survivor. There is little difference. Ibiki leaned forward. Let's take a look at you. He reached out and pulled the hood back. Ibiki Marino had seen everything. He had seen burned victims, flayed men, spies who had bitten off their own tongues. He rarely reacted. But when the hood fell, Ibiki blinked. The face was young, perhaps early 20s. Sharp, angular features. High cheekbones. The skin was pale, lacking the tan of a surface dweller. A thin, white scar ran horizontally across his throat. Another scar bisected his left eyebrow, but the hair, thick, unruly, and a deep, blood red that shimmered like copper in the light, and the eyes. Cerulean blue. They should have been bright. Instead, they were the eyes of a dead fish. Flat. Unblinking. Devoid of light. Ibiki frowned. Uzumaki? The red hair was a dead giveaway. But the Uzumaki were extinct. Name, Ibiki commanded. You have my chakra signature on file, Naruto said. Cross-reference it. I asked for your name. My name is irrelevant until you verify my identity. If I tell you, you will not believe me. You will think it is a psychological tactic. You will torture me to find the truth. That is a waste of time. Check the signature. Ibiki stared at him. This kid knew the playbook. Inoichi is checking it now, Ibiki said. But while we wait, let's talk about where you came from. Your clothes are made of a material we've never seen. Your skin shows signs of long-term radiation exposure or dimensional sickness. Naruto's eye twitched. Just a fraction. You are observant, Naruto said. Good. Where were you? Nowhere. Don't play games with me. Ibiki slammed his hand on the table. He flared his chakra, projecting pain and fear. It was his signature move. It made seasoned Jonin weep. Naruto didn't blink. He didn't sweat. His heart rate, monitored by the sensors on the chair, didn't jump by a single beat. Your killing intent is diluted, Naruto critiqued softly. It is focused on pain. Pain is temporary. True intent should promise cessation of existence. Naruto leaned forward against the straps. Do you want to feel it? What? Naruto opened his eyes a little wider. Boom. It wasn't a sound. It was a psychic impact. The room went cold. The light bulb flickered and shattered. Ibiki Marino, the man who knew no fear, felt his breath catch in his throat. He felt like he was falling. He felt the crushing weight of an endless ocean. He saw a massive, single purple eye staring at him from the darkness. He felt like prey. He felt small. Ibiki knocked his chair back, scrambling to his feet, a kunai in his hand before he realized what he was doing. He was hyperventilating. The pressure vanished as quickly as it came. Naruto sat there in the dark, calm. That is intent. The door to the observation room burst open. Part 5. The Impossible Truth. Inoichi Yamanaka rushed into the room, his face pale. He was holding a file. Ibiki! Don't hurt him. Inoichi stammered. Ibiki looked at his colleague. What is it? Who is he? Inoichi looked at the prisoner. He looked at the red hair, the scars. He shook his head in disbelief. The chakra signature matches, Inoichi whispered. It's distorted. It's denser, darker, mixed with something else. But the core frequency is a 99.9% match. Match to who? Ibiki demanded. To Genin 012607, Inoichi said. Naruto Uzumaki. Status, MIA, presumed deceased. 3 years ago. Ibiki froze. He looked back at the prisoner. That's impossible, Ibiki said. Naruto is a blonde brat. He's 12. Maybe 13. This man is... He looked at Naruto. You look 25. Time is relative, Naruto said from the shadows. The void does not follow your calendar. The void? Ibiki repeated. Suddenly, the heavy steel door of the interrogation room was torn off its hinges. It flew across the room and embedded itself in the far wall with a deafening crash. Tsunade Senju stood in the doorway. She was breathing hard. She had run all the way from the tower. Behind her were Kakashi and Shizen. Tsunade stepped into the room. Her eyes were wild, desperate. She scanned the figure strapped to the chair. She saw the red hair. Her heart skipped a beat. Kushina? No. She walked forward, ignoring Ibiki and Inoichi. She stopped 2 feet from the chair. She looked into his eyes. Those cold, dead blue eyes. Naruto? She whispered. Her voice broke. Naruto looked up at her. He saw the grief etched into her face. He saw the hope warring with the logic. He needed to confirm it. He needed to prove it. The necklace, Naruto said quietly. You lost it in a bet. But you claimed you gave it to me because I was going to be Hokage. Tsunade gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. And Naruto continued, a faint, dry ghost of a smirk touching his lips. You still owe Ichiraku for that tab you ran up the night before we left. You told Tsuchi to put it on my bill when I got back. Tears welled up in the 5th Hokage's eyes. You idiot, she sobbed. She lunged forward. She didn't untie him. She wrapped her arms around him, chair and all, burying her face in his neck. She hugged him with the strength that could shatter mountains, but she was shaking. You idiot! You stupid, reckless idiot! Naruto stiffened. Touch. He hadn't been touched in 10 years. Not by a human. The only touch he knew was the claw of an echo, or the crushing grip of gravity. His body reacted instinctively. Every muscle coiled. A reflex to snap the attacker's neck. No, he told himself. Safe. This is Tsunade. Safe. He forced his muscles to relax. It took effort. I'm back, Bachan, he said. But his arms, strapped to the chair, didn't move. And even if they were free, Ibiki noticed with a shiver the boy, the man, wouldn't have hugged her back. He was just enduring the contact. Tsunade pulled back, gripping his shoulders. She looked at his face, tracing the scar on his throat. Your hair. She touched the red strands. And you look, you're a man. It's been a long time for me, Naruto said. 10 years. 10. Tsunade paled. It's only been 3 years here, I figured, Naruto said. The dilation was variable. I was lucky it wasn't longer. Get him out of this, Tsunade barked at Ibiki. Unstrap him. Now. Ibiki hurried to unlock the restraints. As the metal cuffs clicked open, Naruto rubbed his wrists. Kakashi stepped forward from the doorway. His single eye was wide, unblinking. Naruto? Kakashi asked softly. Naruto stood up. He was taller than Kakashi now. He loomed over his former sensei. He looked at Kakashi. Then at the copy ninja's Hataide covering his eye. Kakashi, Naruto acknowledged with a nod. You're different, Kakashi said, stating the obvious. We need to debrief, Naruto said, ignoring the emotional weight of the room. He turned to Tsunade. I have intel on the Akatsuki. I have intel on the nature of dimensional barriers. And I need food. My caloric reserves are critical. Tsunade stared at him. She expected tears. She expected a shout. She expected Naruto. Instead, she had a soldier. A general. Food, Tsunade managed to say. Right. Food. We'll go to the hospital. I need to examine you. I am fine, Naruto said. That is an order, Naruto. Tsunade snapped, falling back into her role to cope with the shock. Naruto paused. He looked at her. Understood, Hokage-sama, he said. The honorific hit them like a slap. Hokage-sama. Not Bachan except for that first moment, not Granny. Naruto walked past them, toward the door. He moved with that silent, predatory grace. As he passed Kakashi, he stopped. You should cover your left side, Naruto murmured. Your blind spot has increased by 3 degrees. He walked out into the corridor. Kakashi stood frozen. Kakashi looked at Tsunade. He analyzed my stance in a glance. He's alive, Tsunade said fiercely, wiping her tears. That's all that matters. We'll fix the rest. She followed Naruto. But as Ibiki watched them leave, he looked at the shattered light bulb and the dented steel door. Can you fix a shattered mirror? Ibiki wondered. Or do you just get a reflection that is forever fractured? Part 6. The hospital. The Konoha hospital was quiet. Naruto was given a private room on the top floor. Sakura Haruno sprinted down the hallway. She had been at home when Shizen found her. She was wearing her pajamas, hair messy, breathing hard. Where is he? She demanded of the guard at the door. Sakura, Tsunade stepped out of the room. She looked grave. Is it him? Is it really him? Sakura asked, her hands trembling. It's him, Tsunade said. But Sakura, be prepared. He is not the Naruto you remember. I don't care. He's alive! Sakura pushed past Tsunade and burst into the room. Naruto! She stopped. The room was dark. The bed was empty. The sheets were undisturbed. Naruto? She looked around. He was sitting on the windowsill, perched on his heels like a gargoyle. He was staring out at the village, watching the patrol rotations. He was shirtless, and Sakura gasped. His back was a tapestry of scars. Claw marks, burned scars, and strange, geometric scarring that looked like seal burns. His muscles were dense, corded wire. He turned his head slowly to look at her. His hair was red. His face was hard. Sakura, he said. Sakura's eyes filled with tears. You jerk! You kept us waiting for 3 years. She ran to him. She wanted to punch him. She wanted to hug him. She settled for a hug. She threw her arms around him. Snap! Naruto's hand shot up. Before she made contact, he caught her wrist. He twisted it. Ow! Sakura yelped, pulling back. Naruto! What the hell? Naruto blinked. His eyes cleared, the killing intent fading instantly. He looked at her wrist, then at his own hand. He looked confused. He lowered his hand. Apologies. You approached from a flank. It was a reaction. Sakura rubbed her wrist. It was bruising already. She stared at him, horrified. I was hugging you, she whispered. I know, Naruto said. He turned back to the window. Do not do it again. My reflexes are difficult to suppress. Sakura stood there, the distance between them feeling like an ocean. This was Naruto. But it wasn't her Naruto. Her Naruto would have let her punch him. Her Naruto would have been crying. This man was a stranger wearing her friend's face. Naruto, she asked softly. What happened to you? Naruto looked at the moon. I survived, he said. And in the silence of the hospital room, Sakura realized with a sinking heart that the boy she had waited for had died in the ruins of Uzushiobakure. The man who returned was something else entirely. The hospital room was a sensory nightmare. To a normal human, it was quiet. To Naruto Uzumaki, who had spent a decade in a realm where the only sound was the blood rushing in his own ears or the screaming of the wind, the room was deafening. The fluorescent light bulb, though turned off, emitted a high-pitched electrical whine that drilled into his skull. The heartbeat of the patient in the room next door, an elderly civilian recovering from surgery, thumped through the wall like a drum. The smell of antiseptic was sharp and chemical, burning his nostrils, lacking the organic rot and ozone scent of the void. Naruto crouched in the corner of the ceiling, his chakra sticking his feet to the plaster. He stared at the bed. The white sheets looked like a trap. They were too soft. Too constraining. In the void, if you slept on something soft, you sank. And if you sank, the ground swallowed you, or an echo would feel the vibration of your comfort and slit your throat. He hadn't slept in 30 hours. You need to rest, Kit, Kurama's voice rumbled in his mind. It was the only sound that didn't irritate him. Your cortisol levels are spiking. This body needs to repair the micro-tears from the dimensional transfer. It's too open, Naruto projected back. There are 3 entry points. The door. The window. The ventilation shaft. This is Konoha. The ANBU are guarding the hall. Kakashi is on the roof. You are safe. Safe is a lie, Naruto thought automatically. Safe is just a delay. The door handle turned. Naruto didn't move, but his muscles coiled. His hand drifted to the kunai he had stolen from the medical tray, a scalpel he had wrapped in gauze to form a grip. The door opened. Tsunade Senju walked in, holding a clipboard. Shizen followed, carrying a tray of food. Tsunade stopped. She looked at the empty bed. She looked at the floor. Then, with a sigh of resignation, she looked up at the ceiling. Get down, Naruto, she said, her voice tired but gentle. Naruto hesitated. He scanned the hallway behind her. Clear, he dropped. He didn't land with a thud. He landed silently, absorbing the impact with his knees, rising to a standing position in one fluid motion. Hokage-sama, he greeted. Tsunade flinched at the title. Stop calling me that. It's Bachan. Or Tsunade. I haven't aged that much in 3 years. Naruto looked at her. She had lines around her eyes that weren't there before. She smelled of alcohol and fatigue. You have aged, he stated flatly. Stress. Tsunade's eye twitched. You certainly haven't lost your ability to annoy me. That's a good sign. She motioned to the bed. Sit. I need to run a diagnostic on your chakra coils. Naruto remained standing. I can stand. Sit, she ordered, letting a hint of her authority bleed into her voice. Naruto sat on the edge of the bed. He didn't relax. His feet remained flat on the floor, ready to spring. Tsunade placed her glowing green hands on his chest. As soon as her chakra entered his system, she gasped. What is this? She whispered. She closed her eyes, delving deeper. What she found terrified her. A normal ninja's chakra network was like a river system, blue, flowing, vibrant. Naruto's network was a hardened lattice of scar tissue and iron. The coils were 3 times thicker than a normal human's, adapted to handle the crushing pressure of the void. And his cells. Your telomeres, Tsunade murmured, opening her eyes. You're biologically 24. I told you, Naruto said. Time was different. It's not just age, Tsunade traced the scar on his throat. Your bone density is off the charts. Your skin is thicker. And there's a residue in your blood. It's like background radiation. Void taint, Naruto explained casually. It will fade. Eventually. Shizen stepped forward, setting the tray down. It was a bowl of miso soup, rice, and grilled fish. Simple hospital food. You need to eat, Naruto-kun, Shizen said softly. Naruto looked at the food. The smell of the fish made his stomach churn. It was too rich. Too oily. Do you have rations? He asked. Dry pellets? Jerky? This is fresh food, Shizen said, confused. It's better for you. My gut flora has adapted to a diet of distilled blood and moss, Naruto said. If I eat that, I will vomit. Tsunade stared at him. The horror of what he had endured was slowly painting a picture in her mind. We'll get you some bland rice porridge, Tsunade said, her voice trembling slightly. We'll reintroduce solids slowly. Acceptable. Tsunade pulled her hands away. Naruto. The council is demanding a report. Danzo is demanding to see you. At the mention of Danzo, the air in the room temperature dropped. Danzo, Naruto repeated. He claims that since you have been gone for 3 years, your status as a Konoha ninja is void, and you are a security risk, Tsunade explained, anger flashing in her eyes. He wants you in root custody for debriefing. Naruto stood up. He walked to the window. If he comes near me, Naruto said, looking at his reflection in the glass, I will kill him. It wasn't a threat. It was a statement of intent. Naruto, you can't just kill a village elder, Shizen gasped. Naruto turned his head. His blue eyes were cold. He is not an elder to me. He is a threat. In the void, threats are eliminated. If Konoha wishes to keep its council intact, keep him away from me. Tsunade looked at him. She saw the soldier. She saw the weapon. I'll handle Danzo, she said firmly. But you need to reintegrate. You need to remember what it's like to be human, Naruto. Not just a survivor. Naruto looked at his hands. I am human, he said. I am just efficient. Part 2, The Ghost of Team 7. The next morning, the visitors arrived. Naruto had finally slept for 2 hours, sitting upright in a chair with his back to the wall, holding a kunai. There was a knock on the door. Come in, Naruto rasped. Sakura entered. Behind her was Kakashi. They brought the outside world with them. Sakura smelled of cherry blossom shampoo. Kakashi smelled of dog and rain. Hey, Sakura said, her voice tentative. She was holding a bag. I brought you some clothes. Your old ones were, well, ruined. She placed the bag on the bed. Naruto opened it. Inside was a fresh orange jumpsuit. The exact replica of the one he wore when he was 12. He stared at it. The bright orange fabric seemed to mock him. It was the color of a child screaming for attention. It was the color of a target. I cannot wear this, Naruto said. Sakura's smile faltered. What? But it's your favorite. You always said orange was the color of a Hokage. It is the color of a target, Naruto said. In the void, orange is the color of the phosphorescent moss that attracts the echoes. If you wear this, you are eaten. He pushed the bag away. I need dark colors. Grays. Greens. Blacks. Matte fabric. No reflective surfaces. Sakura looked hurt. She had spent all night sewing it, fixing the tears in the spare one she had kept in her closet for 3 years. Oh, she whispered. I didn't know. Kakashi stepped forward, placing a hand on Sakura's shoulder. I have some spare gear, Kakashi said. Standard Jonin fatigues. Navy blue and gray. Would that work? Naruto nodded. Acceptable. Naruto, Kakashi said, his visible eye crinkling slightly, though the smile didn't reach the pupil. Tsunade has cleared you for release, pending a field assessment. She wants me to verify your combat status. A test, Naruto summarized. A spar, Kakashi corrected. Just to see where you're at. You've been gone a long time. Styles change. We need to make sure you can coordinate with a team. I don't need a team, Naruto said. Everyone needs a team, Sakura interjected, trying to find her footing. We're Team 7, remember? We're supposed to be together. Naruto looked at her. He saw the earnest hope in her green eyes. He remembered promising her he would bring Sasuke back. Sasuke. The name felt distant. A childhood rivalry that seemed as petty as fighting over a toy. Sasuke is not here, Naruto said bluntly. So Team 7 does not exist. Sakura flinched as if slapped. Naruto. How can you say that? We're still looking for him. We have leads on Orochimaru's hideout. Is he back? Naruto asked. No, but then he made his choice, Naruto said. He is a rogue. Rogues are eliminated. The silence in the room was absolute. You don't mean that, Sakura whispered, horror dawning on her face. You love him. He's your brother. Naruto walked past her to the bathroom to change into the clothes Kakashi had brought. He stopped at the door. I had a brother, Naruto said softly. His name was Isolation. We spent 10 years together. Sasuke Uchiha is just a ghost from a life I don't remember living. He closed the bathroom door. Sakura turned to Kakashi, tears spilling over. Kakashi-sensei. Who is that? That's not Naruto. Kakashi looked at the closed door. His heart was heavy. That is Naruto, Kakashi said grimly. That is a Naruto who grew up without us. And that is our fault. Part 3, The Training Ground. Training Ground 7. The Memorial Stone. The 3 wooden logs. The sun was high and bright, casting harsh shadows. The grass was green and lush. Naruto stood in the center of the field. He wore the dark navy pants and a gray flak jacket Kakashi had given him. He had refused the standard sandals, preferring his own boots he had cobbled together from leather in the void. He had tied his long red hair back with a simple black cord. He looked like a veteran of a war no one else had fought. Kakashi stood opposite him. Sakura sat on the grass near the memorial stone, watching. She had wiped her eyes, determined to watch. Rules, Kakashi said, lifting his headband to reveal the Sharingan. He wasn't taking chances. He had felt the pressure in the interrogation room. Taijutsu, ninjutsu, genjutsu. All allowed. The match ends when one of us is incapacitated or yields. Killing blows? Naruto asked. Forbidden, Kakashi said quickly. Obviously. Naruto nodded. Understood. Simulating capture parameters. Ready? Kakashi pulled out a kunai. Begin. Kakashi moved. He was fast. He launched himself at Naruto, feinting a high kick to transition into a low sweep. Naruto didn't block. He stepped. It was a shift of 2 inches. Kakashi's foot swept empty air. Kakashi spun, driving a kunai toward Naruto's ribs. Naruto caught Kakashi's wrist. He didn't grip it. He sealed it. Naruto's fingers flared with blue chakra. A small sealing formula appeared on Kakashi's wrist. Paralysis seal, localized. Kakashi's hand went numb. He dropped the kunai. Kakashi's eyes widened. Contact sealing? That takes a master's level of control. Kakashi jumped back, breaking the contact. He shook his hand, forcing chakra through the network to break the seal. It took him 3 seconds. In a real fight, he would be dead. Impressive, Kakashi noted. You've abandoned the brawler style. Naruto didn't speak. He drew his sword. The black blade seemed to drink the sunlight. He swung. He was 20 meters away. Kakashi instinctively dodged to the right. Swish. A hairline cut appeared on Kakashi's flak jacket, slicing through the thick reinforced leather like it was paper. Wind release, vacuum blade, Kakashi analyzed. He extended the cutting edge with invisible wind chakra. No hand signs. Ninjutsu then, Kakashi muttered. He flew through hand signs. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. A massive ball of flame roared toward Naruto. Sakura gasped. Sensei! That's too much. Naruto didn't move. He didn't form a water wall. He sheathed his sword. He held up both hands, palms facing the fire. Fuinjutsu. Hunger of the void. The air in front of Naruto distorted. A black spiral appeared in space, like a miniature black hole. The fireball hit the spiral. It didn't explode. It was eaten. The flames were sucked into the singularity, swirling down the drain of reality until they vanished. Naruto clamped his hands together. The spiral vanished. Kakashi landed on the center log, panting slightly. That jutsu, that was space-time manipulation. That was Minato's level. You're not fighting back, Naruto, Kakashi called out. You're just countering. Countering is efficient, Naruto replied. Attacking leaves openings. Then I'll make you attack. Kakashi decided to test the mental state. He reached into his pouch. You know, Kakashi said, pulling out the orange book. Ika Paradise. I miss reading this to you. He opened the book. Let's see, yes. The passion of the night it was a test. A test to see if the old Naruto was in there. The Naruto who would scream pervy sage. And blush. Naruto looked at the book. His expression didn't change. He disappeared. Kakashi's Sharingan spun wildly. Where? Above. Naruto was falling from the sky, his sword drawn. Kakashi raised a kunai to block. Naruto didn't strike Kakashi. He struck the book. With surgical precision, the black blade sliced the book in half, right through the spine, missing Kakashi's fingers by a millimeter. Confetti of paper rained down. Kakashi froze. He looked at the ruined book in his hand. Naruto landed softly in front of him. He was inside Kakashi's guard. Distractions are fatal, Naruto whispered. He kneed Kakashi in the stomach. It wasn't a playful tap. It was a piston-like drive of dense muscle. Kakashi's eyes bugged out. The air left his lungs. He folded over. Naruto grabbed Kakashi by the back of the neck and slammed him face first into the dirt. He placed his knee on Kakashi's spine and the edge of his blade against Kakashi's carotid artery. Yield, Naruto said. The fight had lasted 45 seconds. The training ground was silent. The birds had stopped singing. Sakura stood with her hands over her mouth. She had seen Kakashi fight Sabuza. She had seen him fight Itachi. She had never seen him manhandled like a genin. Kakashi wheezed, spitting dirt. He tapped the ground. Yield, Kakashi choked out. Naruto stood up immediately. He sheathed his sword. He offered no hand to help Kakashi up. He simply stepped back, his breathing even. Kakashi rolled over, clutching his ribs. He felt like he had been hit by a tailed beast. Well, Kakashi groaned, sitting up. That was decisive. You hesitated, Naruto critiqued. You relied on the Sharingan to predict movements, but you cannot predict a lack of intent. I do not telegraph my strikes because I do not think about them. I just do them. Kakashi rubbed his neck. And the book? It was a psychological crutch, Naruto said. I removed it. Kakashi looked at the shredded remains of his favorite novel. He felt a pang of genuine sadness, but a deeper pang of fear. The boy who used to fall for the 1,000 years of death was gone. You passed, Kakashi said quietly. You're not a genin anymore, Naruto. Honestly, you might be beyond jonin. Rank is irrelevant, Naruto said. Assignment? Rest, Kakashi said. For now, just rest. Part 4: The Bridge. Later that evening, Naruto sat on the railing of the Red Bridge. The one where Team 7 used to wait for Kakashi. The water flowed beneath him, dark and peaceful. He held a rice ball in his hand. He took a small bite. He chewed mechanically. Naruto? He didn't turn. He sensed her chakra. Hinata, he said. Hinata Hyuga stood at the end of the bridge. She had heard the rumors. Everyone had. The ghost of Konoha had returned. She walked closer. She was beautiful now. Long hair, graceful. But she stopped 5 feet away. The aura around him was a wall. I'm glad you're back, she whispered. She didn't stutter. She had grown too. Naruto looked at her. Her white eyes reminded him of the void stars. Am I? He asked. What? Am I back? Naruto looked at the village lights reflecting on the water. My body is here. But I don't recognize this place. It's too soft. It's too slow. You're healing, Hinata said softly. Healing is slow. I don't need healing, Naruto said. I am forged. Hinata stepped closer. She braved the wall of his indifference. Even swords need to be polished, Naruto-kun. Or they rust. Naruto looked at her. Really looked at her. You are stronger, he noted. Your stance is grounded. Hinata blushed, a faint pink dusting her cheeks. It was the first familiar thing he had seen all day. I tried, she said. I wanted to be strong enough to help you when you came back. I don't need help. Everyone needs help. Naruto hopped off the railing. He landed silently. Sakura tried to help, he said. She tried to make me wear orange. She tried to make me be the boy she remembers. Are you going to do that? Hinata shook her head. No. The boy I remember is gone. I can see that. She looked him in the eye. But I would like to know the man who replaced him. Naruto stared at her. For a moment, the killing intent wavered. The constant calculation of threats paused. He is not a nice man, Naruto warned. I'm a ninja, Hinata replied firmly. I don't need nice. I need real. Naruto considered this. I eat on the roof of the hospital, he said. It is the highest point with the clearest sightlines. I know, Hinata said. I can bring tea. Unsweetened. Acceptable. Naruto turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows. Hinata watched him go. She was terrified. He was terrifying. But beneath the scars and the cold dead eyes, she saw the same thing she had always seen. Someone who was alone. Part 5: The Root. Deep underground, in a complex far more sterile than the void but somehow darker, Danzo Shimura sat in his chair. A root Anbu knelt before him. Report, Danzo ordered. Subject Uzumaki engaged Kakashi Hatake in Training Ground 7, the agent droned. Combat duration, 45 seconds. Result, decisive victory for Uzumaki. Danzo's visible eye narrowed. Did he use the fox? Negative. No red chakra cloak. He used high-level Fuinjutsu and Kenjutsu. He neutralized Hatake's ninjutsu and exploited a psychological opening. Danzo tapped his cane on the floor. He is weaponized, Danzo murmured, a twisted satisfaction in his voice. Jiraiya failed to teach him the spiral, but the isolation perfected him. He has no emotional tethers. He is ruthless, he is efficient. Tsunade has blocked all access to him, the agent added. Tsunade is a sentimental fool, Danzo scoffed. She sees a broken child. I see the perfect vessel. Danzo stood up. If he is truly as cold as you say, then he will understand logic. En route is the logic of Konoha. Shall we approach him? Not yet, Danzo said. Let him simmer. Let him realize that he doesn't fit in with the sunshine and rainbows of the leaf. Let him realize that the only place for a monster is in the dark. Part 6, The Nightmare. That night, Naruto tried to sleep in the bed. He lay on the mattress. It felt like quicksand. He closed his eyes. He was back. The purple sky. The hunger. The lizard things screeching. He saw Sasuke's face on an echo. He cut it off. He saw Sakura crying blood. He saw Jiraiya falling. Falling. She always loses, right? Naruto woke up. He wasn't screaming. He didn't scream anymore. He was standing in the center of the room, his sword drawn, his breathing ragged. The room was destroyed. The bed was sliced in half. The curtains were shredded. The walls were covered in slash marks. He had thrashed in his sleep. His body had fought a war while his mind dreamed. The door burst open. An ANBU guard rushed in. Uzumaki-san. We heard. The guard stopped. He saw the devastation. He saw Naruto standing there, sweating, eyes wild, holding a black blade that hummed with wind chakra. Naruto looked at the guard. He lowered the sword slowly. Naruto's voice cracked. I missed a mosquito. The guard looked at the destroyed room. A mosquito? It was a big one, Naruto said. He sheathed the sword. He walked to the corner of the room, sat on the floor, and pulled his knees to his chest. I will pay for the damages, he muttered. The guard swallowed hard, slowly backing out of the room. I'll get the Hokage. Naruto rested his forehead on his knees. You are cracking, Kurama whispered. I know, Naruto whispered back. This place is not safe for you. I know, but it is home. Naruto lifted his head and looked at the moon through the shredded window. Is it? He asked the silence. Or is it just another cage?